Hi, and welcome to our review of the Infrastructure Orchestration and Automation Framework from TSI, powered by leading technology from CloudShell and Cypherpath. A little bit about us first. We are a solution provider for both companies. We focus on customer solutions for building reusable solutions for different markets such as telecom service providers, NEMs, government entities, power and energy companies, helping them to deploy cyber ranges, clouds, data centers, DevOps environments, training environments, and testing labs of all sorts. We even help companies with customer-facing portals for everything from pre-sales, POV and POC, to partner portals. So, what are the problems and needs of a large network computer infrastructure? We've compiled a list of the top issues our customers have come to us to solve. Everything from how to get started in running a large infrastructure, to automating it, and finally to understand and measure how successful you are running your infrastructure. You can almost look at it as from a lifecycle perspective and consider it like a PLM or product lifecycle management implementation where your product is your infrastructure services to your consumer of the infrastructure. So how do we solve handling all of these complex cloud, which it really means infrastructure in this case, problems? Combining CloudShell from QualiSystems and VCP from Cypherpath into a single pane of glass to control all of your infrastructure, all of your processes, and all of your applications in one place offers a standardization and centralization of everything in your environment. When you do this, the ease of managing, optimizing, and using the infrastructure and everything in it brings a very leveraged ROI to your organizations. First, we'll go through a brief overview of each company's tools, features, and what they are known for delivering. We'll first talk about CloudShell from QualiSystems and then cover Cypherpath. I'd like to introduce you to CloudShell, QualiSystems self-service automation platform for heterogeneous IT infrastructure and networks. CloudShell is a powerful end-to-end orchestration and framework that consists of two primary components. First is a visual infrastructure management tool that provides the inventory tracking from bare metal to virtualized to logical and a visual modeler for designing the environments, creating the connections between devices, as well as a reservation and scheduling system for reserving those resources. Second is a mature, proven, and patented automation authoring platform which uses a unique object-oriented and visual-based approach to authoring automation in which automation objects are represented by reusable building block components. Automation built on this platform can then be integrated with all of the resources, both physical and virtual. So let's dive into some of the details of the components of CloudShell, specifically to look at how CloudShell enables usability, flexibility, efficiency, fidelity, and power and sustainability. One of the most important things that makes Quali and CloudShell different is that we automate any infrastructure, meaning old legacy systems, physical networking and storage, virtualization, and public cloud resources. Any combination of those resources can be modeled into an environment, automatically provisioned and deployed by different users. Those users could be R&D folks just needing some computing power, could be a developer needing some VMs to write code and do DevOps, or a tester that needs full production-like environment. We've got a great example in Cisco's DevNet. It could also be the security and compliance folks, like for a cyber range, or it could be someone who actually needs to provision and deploy. There's a great example of what we do with EMC and vSpecs. We can support traffic generators from companies like Ixia, both physical and virtual, to support testers in any of these scenarios. Usability. How does CloudShell enable usability? How does it enable the kind of simplified experience that allows engineers and sales personnel and many others to easily use a technology center infrastructure? CloudShell provides self-service portals in an easy-to-use, web-based catalog style for accessing this information. Using CloudShell's self-service portal, a user can select an environment from a visual catalog of environments with the nice customizable images associated. They are selectable and annotated with rich descriptions or instructions, and upon doing so, that automate provisioning systems automatically and find the appropriate infrastructure components that are needed to create the environment, automatically create the connections between the components, and fire off an automation sequence to provision all the components so the environment is configured, ready to be used in any situation, all with a click of a button. Then the environment presented is in a visual diagram which is interactive and can provide feedback, status, and allow users to issue follow-on commands. How do we enable Fidelity? Can we model real-world scenarios with the same efficiency that we would simulate or have fake scenarios? Can we easily provide physical devices and connect them? This is some of the secret sauce inside of CloudShell that enables us, or you, to rapidly develop integration and shells to almost any kind of service, device, or resource imaginable, whether virtual or physical, providing powerful device provisioning tools and the ability to capture these building blocks of automation objects and associate them with provision. Our customers have developed these best practices for automation with our toolset that allow them to rapidly build and consume automation within our environment. Having this state-of-the-art toolset enables an ease of use unmatched by any other toolset, allowing for great adoption throughout your company. Our architecture is built to sustain open APIs and use different use cases so we can rapidly release new features and capabilities, i.e. we practice what we preach. The ease of use self-service portal combined with our patented object-oriented toolset provides for a scalable approach to support the smallest environments to the largest, supporting orchestration and automation tools of your own choosing, along with our environment too. You can call us an orchestrator of orchestrators. So lastly, how does CloudShell enable both power and sustainability? We've talked about CloudShell's automation, authoring environment, and our software really brings a unique approach to the automation and infrastructure management space. By limiting the scope of each object's functionality, it's easier to maintain objects. So unlike scripts, which often go without comments and can be unusable by anyone except the original developer, small scope resource provisioning and automation objects live in a shared library that everyone can share and even be updated by other developers. A full Python is also available for coders as well. Looking under the hood, you can see how we start in the lower right-hand corner and facilitate levels of complex abstraction as we migrate from right to upper left. This is how we can develop automation and provisioning of very complex things by using smaller, well-designed and functioning blocks, which are easier to write, maintain, debug, and use. Because of this, our toolset sometimes looks too easy to use. A credit to our software developers and designers. Going on, here's an example of a complex continuous integration for DevOps loop for a typical DevOps flow. Notice how we can support and integrate into open source tools or whatever tool sets your designers and developers use. We are tool and service agnostic, making it easy for us to plug into your environment to support your flow. So, how do we add our virtual environment into this orchestrator environment? The latest thing in virtual environments is the concept of software-defined infrastructure, or SDI, and the latest technology is called infrastructure containers, which are designed and built by Cypherpath. Let's take a closer look, shall we? Everyone today is talking about virtualizing as much of their environment as possible, but with the myriad of vendors, open source tools, and different companies offering hosted and cloud-based solutions, it is hard to pull everything together into an easy-to-use integrated environment. Cypherpath builds on the concept of containers like Docker and other app container tool offerings, but includes the entire network as a virtualized container. Combining this with some great smarts running on generic bare metal facilitates a great performance capacity improvement for your compute and storage needs. Imagine being able to build out and provision a network and all of its components and immediately use it. This capability is also automatable with a complete RESTful interface to drive this rapid deployment of infrastructure. So no matter if you want to do through a GUI or automation, our provisioning and orchestration is rapid and easy to use as it can get. Built into our toolset is full multi-tenancy support, so you can segment and do purpose-built infrastructure supporting different use cases throughout your organization. Underneath the hood, Cypherpath implements an infrastructure container as a single file. This advantage allows your organization to copy, clone, collaborate, and do it all securely as well as manage it in a profoundly different way than what other technologies may do. This method also allows us to support generic hyperconverged storage and compute components, so your company can take advantage of the latest technology in these areas, allowing for the best performance and capacity of your environment for your users. Our ecosystem of supported partners is growing rapidly and supports the main virtualized components and companies offering solutions today. We support almost any OS and any app across all the common hypervisors offered today. So now that you understand a little about these two great technologies, how do they work together? As you can see, the use model is to use CloudShell as the orchestrator to handle both the physical resources and the virtual containers. This way, CloudShell can also manage the generic hardware, compute, networking, and storage that supports the Cypherpath virtualized environments. We can use the automation to spin up additional resources under Cypherpath to grow and shrink the resources as needed to support the demands of the users. CloudShell can then provide automation and additional provisioning and configuring of the virtual resources within the Cypherpath containers. Now in one pane of glass, you have access to all of the resources that are needed to manage, provision, schedule, reserve, consume, and automate all of your physical and virtual resources. Hi, this is Chuck Reynolds from TSI, and welcome to this short demonstration of the Infrastructure Orchestration Automation Framework integration from TSI, powered by QualiSystems CloudShell products and Cypherpath's infrastructure container platform. So let's see how it's done. First, in CloudShell, you'll notice that we have a catalog of environments that we can choose from, just like in AWS or another cloud offering. So we could choose the infrastructure automation environment, and here we can choose the CloudShell Cypherpath test environment. So we'll pick this. We'll actually reserve it. So we can open this, and once we reserve it, we can actually reserve it and schedule it and do automatic conflict resolution, as well as add in recurrence across different types of patterns from different ranges. And in this case, we don't really need to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and reserve this for an hour. This does the conflict checking as we talked about, and then opens up a Visio-like live diagram of our networked environment. I've turned off the actual networking lines just for clarity here so you don't have to see those. Notice that here we have a Cypherpath container device. We have a breaking point chassis, an Exia Storm. We have a Cisco switch. We have a Cisco 5K, and we have a UCS chassis. These are physical items within our environment, and the Cypherpath live container is a virtual one. Each one of these has live commands that we can operate on. For example, on our breaking point, we could RDP into it, or our Cisco 5K, we could secure shell or RDP into it as well. In this case, we could go to the Cypherpath live container, and we can actually open the virtual container platform tool from Cypherpath. This opens Cypherpath in a browser window. I'll go ahead and click Login. And notice it comes up with my dashboard here. It shows me my environment, how much memory I have. Since I'm an admin here, I can actually take a look at the status and see how much disk space I'm using, current RAM, what the system stats are in my environment. If I go back to my containers over here, I can actually click on where it says CloudShell Test and actually view this particular container. And this is a full virtual environment that contains a switch, workstations, as well as a breaking point VM. You'll notice that they're all red in color. That tells us that this container has not been started, so none of these machines are actually active at this moment. Okay, switching back to CloudShell. Here we can see that in CloudShell we also have documentation and instructions. So if I click on the instructions tab here, we can see the entire TSI solution that talks about that container. What's in it, information about web links, PowerPoints, videos, all sorts of things that we can do to see CloudShell and Cypherpath information as well about our environment. Additionally, when we click on the Cypherpath container, we can actually issue commands to a shell or driver that has been written directly for the Cypherpath container. It uses a RESTful interface to control all the options within the Cypherpath, so everything that's done through the GUI, we can also do with automation here directly from CloudShell. You'll notice that we have several different types of functions, such as admin functions, user functions, container functions, and others. I'll go ahead and expand these all out. We'll go ahead and run a couple of these. For example, first thing we might want to do is get our resource status. We can even see as we highlight on top of it, it gives us the information about the actual structure of that command and where it came from. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and click Run on the resources and get the status of those. I'll actually click on the output window here so we can actually see that, and I'll actually click Run, queues it up and runs. This is fully supported with authentication and a very secure environment to get to Cypherpath. So it comes back, it tells us how much committed memory, and these are the same numbers that we saw from Cypherpath directly. We can also get information about the node status, so we can actually see the node and how much CPU is being used over time, get the information that is there. And additionally, we can go down and get information such as get a list of containers that we might want to take a look at. So I can actually click run, and it'll actually bring back all the containers that are in the Cypherpath environment. You notice that this runs pretty fast. So you can see we have a lot of different Cypherpath containers out there. And then I can actually start a particular container. So if I click over here on Start Container, I can click on the name here, and in case this our actual one is called CloudShell Test that we want to start, that we looked at previously. So I'll go ahead and click on that and click Run, and this will actually start that Cypherpath container. So I'll wait a second here for it to actually start, and hopefully it gets started. We'll actually see it. Now you notice that it says stop there, so it's actually started already. So we can actually watch these workstations come up, and as soon as one comes up, we can then actually click on it. For example, here's my Cypherpath WinXP. This is just a WinXP virtual machine, so I can actually take a look at the information on that guy. If I click on him and select him and then go over here, I can actually connect to that box and actually open it up in a separate browser and get a VNC window directly into that box. And there we are. We can actually log in and do some stuff. I'm not going to log in this particular case. Okay, so now all of our machines are spun up and live, so we can switch back to CloudShell. And now we might want to bring those machines into CloudShell so that we have a dynamic environment of all of our physical resources plus all our virtual resources all in one pane of glass. So for example, I have a command out here that's called Export Topology to CloudShell. So we'll click on it, and we'll click the container name, CloudShell Test, and we'll actually click Run, and this will dynamically build all of the virtual resources as models inside of CloudShell, add them to the database, and then automatically populate them directly into our environment. So it's off and running, and there they are. So we can see we get information, successful export of the topology. If I click on the X over here, you can see that now all these new workstations, my breaking point VM was added. There were several different workstations added. I can use my little scroll bar here to zoom out and zoom in. And there was one Cypherpath WinXP machine that was also added. These are all area network. They have all their IP addresses, all their information. But not only that, they've actually been linked to drivers. So if I click back over here on more, I can actually do what's called an ellipse auto arrange, which will actually bring these in such a way that I can get to them nice and easy and make them look a lot prettier here so we can see them. So now I'll maybe zoom in a level or two. So you can see here that we have our UCS chassis and breaking points. These are the physical devices, but the workstations were all virtual workstations. So I can actually click on the commands in the virtual workstation and RDP into it, or VNC or Telnet, whatever the particular method is to talk to that. In addition, I can actually click on the commands and have a set of shell commands to send a file or a script to that machine, execute that, turn the power on and off, and do other machine level VM items as well. You'll notice if I take a look over here at the breaking point VM that's down here, we can actually take a look at its command structure and see in fact that we have a breaking point VM automation driver loaded underneath that VM, so I can load and start, pick a particular test, get the test statistics, get the test status, and end the test, all without having to be an expert on a breaking point VM environment. Once we're done with all the automation and things that we might be doing in this particular environment, then we can possibly set the machine down. You'll also notice that we have drivers in here for some of the other devices, such as our UCS chassis. So we have a full automation driver for driving all the admin and user activities of a UCS chassis as an example. We have the same thing for VMware and other environments. As well as, say, Cisco switches and iOS and Juniper, etc. Once you get done with all of your automation and you're finished, one of the things that we can do is go back to our Cypherpath container driver and clean up the environment. We didn't show you, but it actually created all the resources. Let me pop back into Resource Manager and do a refresh over here. This is the database viewer from CloudShell. that actually shows the information. And you can see when I hit the refresh button, all these Cypherpath machines showed up. They're currently reserved, so other people can't use them. They're all part of our single topology environment, the Breaking Point, the Cypherpath XP, and the other 10 workstations. So now when I switch back to CloudShell, and I tear down this topology and delete it and stop the container. So first thing I might do is click stop on the container. So I'll go over here and tell it to stop that container, and then after it's stopping that container and it gets called, we'll then go back down here to our machine admin functions, and we will delete all the VMs that are out there. So I'll pop into CloudShell test, and now it will delete them from the CloudShell database, so they're no longer active, they're no longer environments. They'll get deleted dynamically from inside of the topology here, and we'll be back to an ambient state. All of those resources now will be then released back into the pool of resources so that you can see that those resources go back into the environment for other users to use. Once we have all of them done, you can see that they're all gone, and the only things that we have left now, if I do a let's just do a gridded one here and zoom in on this a couple levels, you can see that we just have our physical devices plus our Cypherpath. If we click back into our Cypherpath environment, you can see that we're in a stop and it's performed the stop. They're all red, they've all stopped. If I go back to my system status and take a look at it or run the command from there, everything is back to its original ambient state. The memory's been released, the disk and other things have been released, as well as the CPUs. So, in talking at the end here, lastly, because all these tasks are done in CloudShell, all of our activities are being logged into our business intelligence database called Insight, so we can bring those back up with dashboards later, which is a subsequent demonstration not covered in this particular webinar. So in summary, TSI's integration of Cypherpath within CloudShell can provide a unique framework so that we can meet the needs of your large infrastructure and streamline the many processes and applications and management needs of all, so that your large infrastructure can thrive and grow and meet the needs of your customers. We thank you very much for your time today. We look forward to hearing from you. You can contact us on the following slide. Have a great day.